The following program does not offer personal medical advice. Please consult your doctor before using any treatment or product we cover. Welcome to Go to Health Media with your host, Jonathan Marks. We provide a welcoming environment where experts educate you on important health topics, answer your questions, and provide information from which you can benefit in consultation with your doctor. You can visit and subscribe to the show at gotohealthmedia.com. And now, here is Jonathan Marks. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another show of Go to Health. We're so glad you're here with us today. You can listen to us on 8 podcast networks. You can also watch us on YouTube, and you can watch us on our website at gotohealthmedia.com, where you can opt in and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. So what we're talking about today is how AI is healing healthcare. So AI can have a number of very positive effects as we move forward in healthcare. It can provide an early warning disease detection. It can be a highly sensitive model to detect early stages of disease from previous cases of disease. So where lots of data is taken from many cases, it's of course depersonalized, but then can be used to predict disease and disease states and disease progress from many different sets of data. This can help save physician and patient time. It can provide improved accuracy in diagnosis and treatment. And a developer can take a smaller set of data and fine-tune a larger data set. So it's got lots of potential to take our depersonalized healthcare data and use it to improve healthcare. Our guest today is Elena Putilina, PhD. She is a leader in healthcare technology focused on product marketing and healthcare analytics, which identifies patterns, trends, and insights from data that can be used to improve patient care and healthcare decisions. She has successfully led analytics operations, data storytelling, and product marketing efforts at Sanofi, GlaxoSmithKline, and Viva Crossix. She is currently leading analytics and marketing at an independent small business called AutoRemind that provides automation and patient communication solutions in independent healthcare practices. You can learn more about Elena if you look her up on LinkedIn. It's linkedin.com/in/Elena Putilina, and I'll spell that for you. It's ELENA, Elena Putilina. Putilina. So welcome to the show, Elena Putilina. How are you today?
Very good, Jonathan. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Good. I'm so glad to have you here because I know you know a lot about our topic, which is AI. So give us the basics. What is AI? What does it do? And how can it help us in healthcare?
So it's a wonderful question, and it is on many people's minds, right? So AI is basically a machine that possesses human-like qualities. So AI can learn, and importantly, AI can function independently. So that's what makes it intelligent, right? And the next question you were saying, like, well, what does AI do, right? So AI does a lot of interesting things. So one type of AI is generative AI, right? And I use generative AI every single day in my work. Example is ChatGPT, right? It helps us generate content. Another type of AI is predictive. And I bet you, Jonathan, you used it today. And I used it today, and my kid used it today, my husband used it today. You know why? Because I bet you woke up, you looked at your phone, and you were like, what's the weather like today?
Uh-huh.
Did
Yes, I
you?
did. Yeah,
Yes, you
absolutely.
did. And guess
Yes.
what? That's predictive AI, right?
Okay.
So that's a good example, right? Another type of AI is conversational. So say we go to Home Depot website and we interact with a chatbot, or another one I bet many listeners have in their home. You know what? Alexa. There is a conversational AI, right? So, and
Yes.
then there is a robotic AI, of course, that is intelligent machine type that could operate robots. So many cool things, and we already use them in our daily life. So whoever says I never use AI, well, you know what? You probably do just because you're watching the weather, right?
Good.
And of course, we're all consumers of healthcare. And in healthcare, AI has many opportunities to help out. Of course, because when it comes to healthcare, there is a lot of data already, right? We are all consumers of healthcare, wanting, not wanting, but we are. And there is more and more data being generated just by our devices, wearables, better technology as we speak. And also, our healthcare system is very complex. So it is a prime area for AI to help across all the examples we were talking about, right? In generating content, in predicting patient outcomes, in helping doctors generate or content to talk to patients or response, down to robot assisted surgeries and things like that.
Wow. So it really is going to have a lot of future applications, if not already. So can you explain to us? I know AI can take large databases of patient data and use it to improve care. How does that work?
Yes, indeed. So let's just imagine a couple examples, right? So you can take large amounts of patient data. Of course, they have to be de-identified, right? Because we have to remember our important law here in healthcare, which is HIPAA, which is the law of 2016 that says we as patients are the only ones who are allowed to own our data, right? So imagine there's a large pool of de-identified data available for AI to look at. So what could AI do? Well, AI could find patterns. And that's important because it could find patterns, it could find small indicators of what will become a disease later in this patient cohort. Well, why is that important? Because doctors can act on it quicker, right?
Hmm.
AI on a large scale can also predict certain populations to have an issue, perhaps a flu outbreak, right? It could predict a lot of things based on recognition of patterns. And where it's important is one, it does it better, faster than humans, just because of vastness, right? And two, it could do it earlier and allow doctors in the healthcare system to interfere and be productive earlier, and of course, improve patient outcomes.
Good. So I want to return to the concept you just mentioned before, which is HIPAA. And let's just review that again because I know that people probably have a lot of concern about all this data floating around there. And is it going to be data about them? So remind us about HIPAA and how it protects our privacy.
Sure. So what we just mentioned, it's a government law from 2016 that basically states that as patients and as healthcare consumers, we are the only ones who are allowed to have a view of our data. So let's give you an example. So for instance, let's just imagine for a second that you might have an elderly aunt and you help your aunt go to the doctors, right? And your aunt has you're her caretaker, and your aunt has certain healthcare news that you as as a caretaker need to know. In that case, you would need a permission,
Hmm.
right? A consent
Hmm.
to be privileged to know her healthcare information. So that's the important part. We as healthcare consumers own this data, right? From there, any entity that operates with our data has to have it de-identified, so much so that it's not traced back to us.
Hmm.
Right? So as a de-identified large pool of data, healthcare systems, doctors, analytics companies, you name it, can operate this data as long as it's not identified back to us. So how does it affect AI? Well, AI needs data to function, right? So AI operates with these data sets, and as long as these data sets are de-identified, as long as they are clean and as long as it's protected, right? The AI operates in a protected system, it's totally not a problem. The problems arise when the data can be identified back to us because that violates the HIPAA Act.
Good. But these HIPAA law right now protects this from happening so that data that's taken that AI uses is de-identified, so it's not associated with me personally or you personally.
Correct,
Got
correct.
it.
And any vendor that uses AI needs to have an associate agreement with the entity that provides the data. So the whole chain of whatever vendors operate with the data is
Yes.
transparent and HIPAA compliant, and everybody knows how the data is handled. So if it's handled correctly, the data would stay de-identified and it is not threatening to HIPAA or to your and I privacy.
Good. So before you talked about how AI can help in a doctor diagnosing a patient even early, based upon data or recommending treatments. But tell us, how can AI be used in healthcare operations or in drug discovery? What are ways that AI can benefit us there?
So, great question. And you and I can talk about it for a week because there are many, many, many applications. Again, because AI is very good when there is complexity and speed is needed, right? AI is a great tool for that. And our healthcare is plenty complex, right? So,
Hmm.
using AI in operations, for example, in helping to process claims, right? Accelerate claims processing, in
Hmm.
helping to process doctor's notes, right? Instead of dictations and scribes, AI can do that, right? In helping to process vast amounts of healthcare data, of which we have plenty. Again, there is a caveat. It's important that the data is clean because AI just doesn't know the difference, right? So that's very important. So that is in operations, right? Another one you brought up is drug discovery. That is a whole huge different conversation. Interesting to me because I actually am a chemist by education.
Ah,
So very early in my career, I was in the lab and I was just making things and looking at color changes. And, oh my God, what did I make? Let's go see, right? So it's fascinating to me that so much of that can now be done predictively with AI. You
hmm.
don't need to run a reaction every single time because AI can predict a lot of outcomes, and therefore the researchers can move a few steps ahead, right? And the bulk of the work done with AI, and the researchers are that much farther ahead in trying to figure out certain new medications or whatever they are looking at.
Got it. And can AI, I'm assuming I know the answer to this, but can AI be used in communication with patients?
Oh, you know the answer to that,
Yeah,
of
I do.
course, right? Because you know the answer to that because if the doctor's office is sending an email to you and to me, right, telling us about their office news, so they might be closed because there's a snowstorm. Well, I sit in New Jersey, we do have snowstorms. You sit in Vegas, you don't have
We
snowstorms,
don't.
but your
Right.
doctor is gonna write about something else equally
Yes.
as interesting, and they might need an assistance of ChatGPT to write this note. Now, it's very important to know here that in this case, the ChatGPT did not touch any sensitive information. It did not touch any patient information, none of the HIPAA protected stuff. It just helped the doctor to draft the note.
Got it. Okay. And I'm assuming it can do automated communications as well, like remind you of your appointments or remind you of tests. Tell us more about that.
Absolutely. AI definitely can do automated communications. It just has to be integrated with the EHR systems. And
Right.
again, all the data needs to be handled on a de-identified basis.
Got it.
Absolutely.
And EHR is electronic health records.
Correct.
Yes.
Electronic health records, which is where our healthcare information lives when
Yes.
we go to the doctors,
Got it.
right? So our diagnosis, our prescriptions, our symptoms, all of it lives in EHR, which is our health record. Yeah.
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but there are a number of doctors I've been to that have all paper records and they haven't gone electronic yet. Do you have any sense for what percentage of practices have gone electronic?
It's a very good question. I would say vast majority by now,
Yeah.
because there is again a government act that says everybody should be electronic, and eventually we're striving for all the data to be shareable between
Yes.
your doctor A and your doctor B,
Yes.
right? If your doctor A has everything on paper, that's a little bit of a problem,
Yes.
right? Because the data needs to be eventually shareable. So vast majority of medical professionals are electronic.
Got it. Okay. So let me ask a final question. What current realities impact developments of AI in healthcare? And what I mean by that, are there boundaries that need to be set? Are there boundaries that are too tight? What are some of the obstacles? And what are the things we should be careful about and know about it with AI in healthcare?
You know, Jonathan, that is a great question. It is very important because a lot of people think, well, AI is here to fix all of our problems right now. Truth is, not quite like that. AI is going to help us address a number of our challenges little by little.
Mm,
And I will explain to you why, especially it pertains to healthcare, because we have a lot of data in healthcare that is very siloed. That's number one. We just had, you and I discussed an example. Your doctor A uses paper records. Your doctor B uses EHR system one, right? Your doctor C uses a completely different EHR system.
hmm
And therefore, somebody, specifically you, Jonathan, have to shuttle these records from point A to point B to make sure that everybody knows everything, right? Well, how is AI to help here? It's very difficult, right? Because the data needs to be shareable, the data needs to be clean. That's another one, right? And currently in our healthcare systems, it's humans handling it. And sometimes they focus more on patients than on the notes, as they should, right?
hmm
And sometimes it's too complicated, and sometimes it's late hours. And the quality of data is not entirely clean and perfect. So AI can help when the data is very clean and come out with tremendously helpful insights. But if the data is not very clean, AI will certainly will come out with insights, but AI wouldn't know the difference,
Got
right?
it.
That is where a doctor has to interfere. That's where the analytics professionals have to interfere. And look, another interesting example, ICD codes, right? The diagnosis codes for certain health conditions. There are multiples. There's books this thick of diagnosis codes, right? So Dr. A could use one code, Dr. B could use the adjacent code. AI wouldn't know the difference.
Hmm.
So everything needs to be standardized and clean. So my pitch here to people who have high hopes for AI in healing our healthcare system, AI will help us heal, but it is going to be a supervised process. It's going to be a stepwise process, and it very much depends on how we as humans prepare data in healthcare to be clean and ready for AI to help us out.
That's very reassuring to know that this is not just an automatic machine-driven process that's going to take control, that there has to be human intervention here at different points. So you've mentioned clean data a couple of times. Can you give us some examples of what clean data is versus, I don't know what you call it. Is it unclean data? Is it dirty data? What is clean data and
Sure,
how do we
here is a
get there?
sure. Here is a great example from our imaginary scenario of your Dr. A who keeps everything on paper, right?
Yes.
And the Dr. A has very bad handwriting. There is
Mhm.
dirty data, right? Because you take it to the next doctor and he says, "Hey, Jonathan, what does it say?" You say, "I don't know. What
Right.
did your doctor tell you the other day?" "Oh, I don't remember."
Sure.
So here we are, right? So it needs to be legible and clean with all the code standardized, and then the next doctor could probably figure out, but AI could figure out that much faster.
Right. And you also talked about siloing, and I just want to return there for a second. So you used the example of me having three doctors and their systems are not integrated. So all my health information is not in one place, but then there's the hospital I go to, there's the specialist I go to, there's the radiation imaging place I go to. What are the boundaries, or what's the process of all this data getting into one place so that I can really have one health record that reflects everything that everybody knows about me? Where are we on that scale?
So one of these days, Jonathan, we would get there, right? Because there is again a government law called Interoperability Act that talks about just that. It talks about the fact that healthcare records should be shareable, right? And they should travel from point A to a point B again in a de-identified secure fashion, but
Yes.
you, Jonathan, as an owner of your healthcare data, don't have to shuttle it around from all the entities that you just mentioned. And to some degree, it's happening, but it's a long process just because we have a lot of players involved, right? We have, like you mentioned, healthcare system, and your imaging center might belong to a different system, and the doctor might be independent. And maybe you want to throw in some of your Apple Watch, information or
That's
whatever else you've
right.
got.
Right.
And there we create this large ecosystem, and we're making strides. There's definitely data exchange companies and analytics companies that are working on it, data platforms, but we're not there yet objectively. And we know it because when it comes to our own lives, and we're all healthcare consumers right now, we're still shuttling, right, our data from one entity to the next.
Yeah.
But as the healthcare system is working on it, again, AI will help us in that too. But we always have to stay back and think, is the data clean? Right? Is the data standardized? Is the data secure? And if the answer is yes, 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 you know that, okay, there's got to be an AI tool that's going to help us get it done faster and more efficiently.
Good. Thank you for that. You just mentioned a word I was glad to hear because that was my next question. You talked about secure data. So I'm sure that a lot of people, when they think of AI in healthcare, get pretty scared about, oh my God, what's happening to my information? Is this getting spread all over the place? I mean, what kind of protections or what kind of assurances can we give people that the information will be handled properly and securely so that we maintain our privacy?
That is a great question, but if we think back to like the where we just started, right? AI is a machine that possesses some human qualities, right? So it's a machine and we have to feed it certain information. We also can restrict this machine, right, from where it goes with this data and from what it does.
Hmm.
So as long as the AI operators, the vendors, the companies that have AI tools are responsible and they train their AI on certain closed data sets that are clean and they de-identified. And as long as AI is not allowed to spread the data all over, which is going to be outlined in the associates agreement between that AI vendor and the healthcare systems or whatever entity provides the data, you're fine.
Good. Now, are there enough laws in place to keep data secure, or with AI, are we going to need new regulations that either oversee or check how data is being used and, limits how data is used? Do we need more regulations?
It's a really good question. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm going to just kind of give that caveat. But there's an interesting dynamics going on with another law, which is called My Health, My Data, which is a Washington law that basically says that outside of HIPAA, there's other data that could imply your health conditions, right?
Hmm.
For example, geolocation, if you spend time in a given hospital every week for a certain amount of time, right? It's not exactly your health data, but based on that, it could be implied. And several other states also started adhering to this My Health, My Data So I think that's going to be very viable, because if we step back and remember again, what's the essence of these regulations, right? The essence is that you, Jonathan, or me, Elena, right? We are the only owners of our health information in its entirety, right, is written or implied. So if information from wearables and geolocation and likes need to be controlled, well, then it would be important that additional states join my health, my data, or like laws are issued.
So I don't have any more questions, but is there a question I should have asked that I haven't yet? Or what else would you like to share with our community before we end our interview?
I would like to share that we all should be excited about AI, period. We all should be excited about AI in healthcare. We all should remember that it's very important to have clean data. And I sound like a broken record, but it truly is important because, for example, there is a lot of conversations about, oh, AI reading images, and they do so great at it, better than a doctor. Yes, but you have to remember that the image quality has to be readable, legible, and correct, right? Then AI could do a great job. So the input, the data has to be clean and correct. So all of us should be excited about that. And all of us should read about what AI is doing, because there's going to be a lot of news all across many applications that we cannot cover in a very, very short conversation. So I think there is more to come. And it's exciting, and that's where I'd like to finish.
Good, thank you. We've been talking with Elena Putilina. She's a leader in healthcare technology focused on product marketing and healthcare analytics, which identifies patterns, trends, and insights from data that can be used to improve patient care and healthcare decisions. And I recommend that you follow her, and you can get in touch with her and follow her on LinkedIn. It's linkedin.com/in/Elena Putilina. And let me spell that. It's Elena, Elena, Putilina, Putilina. I got that right?
Yes, you did. Thank you, Jonathan.
Good. So linkedin.com/in/Elena Putilina. She posts a lot. She's on a podcast, so you can listen to her there, and she's really fun to follow. Thanks so much for being with us today, Elena.
Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate it.
Good. And remember, you can watch us on YouTube. You can watch us on our website at gotohealthmedia.com. You can opt in there to be registered so that you don't miss any of our episodes. And you can also listen to us on 8 podcast networks. This has been Jonathan Marks with Go to Health Media. Remember, as we say at the end of every show, go to health. Take care. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in this week to Go to Health Media. Be sure to join Jonathan Marks and another health expert next time. You can also catch the program on your favorite podcast platform. Until our next show, be sure to visit us on the web at gotohealthmedia.com and elevate your life.